Good afternoon, and welcome to my final video presentation for Children and the Law Senior Seminar in Psychology. My name is Isabella Diaz. The date is April 22nd, 2025, and without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. For this final video presentation, I've chosen to highlight my midterm reform essay, which focuses on protecting juveniles during legal interrogations. This reform proposition is inspired by research conducted by Malloy and colleagues in 2013, who found that youth are much more vulnerable than adults to coercion and false confessions, and that additionally, a majority of the sample of juveniles that they examined reported experiencing high-pressure interrogations that included threats. Because of these vulnerabilities, my reform proposes a federal mandate that requires all juveniles and minors that are in custody to receive legal counsel before, during, and after any interrogation, regardless of the thoughts or opinions of the parents/guardians. This mandate would take away parent/guardian ability to waive their child's Miranda rights for them. In my opinion, waiving your child's right to counsel is unethical and has the potential to really harm the child's case, which is why I chose to go with this specific reform. It's easy to assume that your child is innocent and couldn't possibly have done something wrong enough to entail legal consequences. But unless you're absolutely 100% certain of that, why take the chance of your child potentially self-incriminating themselves when there were other possible solutions and routes to take? So, applying what we've learned this semester, developmentally speaking, we know from research by Kaufman and colleagues from 2018 that juveniles are still maturing in areas like their ability to regulate behavior, their ability to consider the long-term consequences of their actions, and their ability to resist peer pressure. More importantly, though, and most relevant to this reform, is the concept of cognitive abilities versus psychosocial maturity. Kaufman's research shows that in certain aspects, adolescents can cognitively function quite similarly, if not equally, to adults when it comes to abilities that permit logical and rational reasoning about moral, social, and interpersonal matters. This is not the same as psychosocial maturity, though. Psychosocial maturity extends beyond cognition and instead involves more complex psychological processes like responsibility, perspective, and temperance. Unlike the similarities in adolescent and adult cognition, when Steinberg and colleagues compared psychosocial maturity, they found that adolescents are significantly less psychosocially mature than adults, and they refer to this as the immaturity gap. All of this research, as extensive as it is, serves as great support for my proposed child law reform, which pushes for mandatory legal counsel for juveniles in custody. With that being said, though, the biggest drawback of this reform, like so much else, is the price tag. According to the American Bar Association, the federal courts have requested almost $2 billion in fiscal year 2025 just to meet the requirement for providing public defenders to those who cannot afford an attorney. Now, imagine piling a federal mandate for every single juvenile in custody to receive legal counsel while under custody on top of that. This would put an even larger burden on a system that is already strained, seeing as though many jurisdictions' public defenders are already overwhelmed and underfunded. Additionally, this reform could cause legal proceedings to slow down while counsel is awaited, which could inadvertently cause more harm than good for the juveniles who now have to spend more time under detainment and away from their daily lives. Any policy reform is going to have its advantages and its disadvantages, but what is important is that we strive for better, not necessarily perfect. Better is good, and it's good even if it's expensive and even if it slows down legal proceedings. The extra money and the extra time, in my opinion, are well worth it when you take a step back and really consider the demographic that you're trying to help here. Children and adolescents are among the most vulnerable population within our society and should be protected as much as possible, even when they're being accused of breaking the law or committing crimes. This concludes my final video presentation. Thank you so much for listening.